What's up?
What's up? Yeah, it's ASMR. We're not.
You know what I was thinking the other day of starting to recite? So I was with my friend in the subway station one time, and I started to say the stations to annoy her. And she was like, yo, you should just make these videos of repetitive subway stations. And who knows, people are going to want to watch it. And you make mad cash on the side. What?
Are people going to pay for that?
Yeah, when you watch YouTube videos, people pay for it, right?
But like, I guess that's like that's a real Toronto ASMR thing.
Yeah,
it's
but
like, oh, it's a good station.
Yeah,
like,
welcome to St. Patrick's.
You do it like you could be the automated
See,
voice.
I told you, what's
you
good.
Could be.
They could find me and then hire me for like, I don't know, maybe there's secret conventions that they need automated voices for, and they're like, yo, there's this chick that does it so well.
Do you think it's like the Illuminati?
Yeah.
But for people who say turn left in 500 meters?
Yeah. Or like, this is how we kill the world.
Oh,
right?
Because anything
they
say.
Up everything.
Oh, wow. The nuclear codes are...
Eight, what's up?
3.
I'll do it.
That Amy. Would be... that's a hell of a gig.
Someone's doing it.
Somebody is doing it.
It could be me.
Her name's Siri, though.
Who is Siri?
Well, the universe told me that's Siri. No, Siri's somebody. Yeah, so we're doing this interview right now.
Yeah.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
No. Ask me questions and I'll answer.
No? You got to introduce yourself. You at least say your name.
Okay, my name's Avleen Kaur R.
Because I would not have got the last name right,
yeah,
even though it's simple.
True.
I butcher names all the time. But you are an extremely talented
Thank you.
visual artist are you from Toronto?
Well, technically, I guess now.
Yeah.
But I came to Canada.
You're based in Toronto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I came from India to study, and then I finished school, went to work, and then my base was always GTA when I was studying, and I wasn't studying in the GTA. During studies, I'd keep coming back here. Then I finished school and I went to work in Calgary, and then I came back here.
Yeah, and that's I kind of want to start it like a little bit with your biography of like where were you born, where were you raised?
I was born in India.
Yeah.
I was raised there.
Where in India?
Punjab. But my parents are Kashmiri, which is north of India.
Yep.
And they were actually sort of refugees that moved to Punjab because there was a war going on.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I grew up in Punjab, but we had really close connections to Kashmir.
Okay.
And when I was really young, I was like, yo, I need to leave. I want to leave. I want to do other things and not listen to what my parents had to tell me every day. So I kept pushing for boarding school. And then they kept saying, no, no, no. And finally, I was able to convince my dad to send me to study outside.
That's funny hearing it from like a North American perspective of like, hey, I want freedom. Mom, Dad, can I go to a boarding school? Like, can I really? Like,
how is it here? Is boarding school very strict?
Yeah, I think the conception here is like boarding school, like, oh, you did some bad shit, like you're getting locked up in a boarding school. Yeah, but it's got, especially like in India and on that side of the world, like in the Eastern world, I guess you'd call it. I don't know what the non-problematic way to say it is.
I don't think there's a problematic way to say it. No.
There's probably a problem.
India.
Yeah, India.
Or third world countries, I guess.
Yeah, just in like Southeast Asia. There's definitely a culture of like boarding school and like that's somewhere where you can get some freedom and escape.
Yeah, because your parents aren't always watching you. Mm-hmm. And the moment you come back home on vacation, you're the cool kid. You're the cool cousin. That has all this freedom and has dude friends. That's so funny. You can't do that in India. You can't have guy friends. Are you serious?
Yeah.
No,
not at all. So you went to boarding school.
No, I didn't go to boarding school.
You didn't? You weren't allowed?
Nah, my mom was like, hell no, all my kids are staying home.
Oh, wow.
I want to watch over them. Yeah, very.
That's you like that. Like, that's a good quality to have in a mom, though.
No.
No, I guess in the moment, but like in general, you don't want a mom who's like
doesn't care about you. Yeah, but like, you can do nothing. Pretty much, you just do what your parents tell you.
Yeah.
I'm not about that life. So.
Yeah. So when did you come over here to Canada?
I was 18, or just turned 18, so I came here, and I went to school.
Yep.
And
And you
went to university.
You picked Windsor.
I didn't. They actually, I know. Okay, get your laughs out. Okay, go ahead.
I was just checking
go ahead.
To make sure
I see
you did not
I
pick
see
Windsor.
you smirking. No, I didn't. There was a liaison office right next to my house, really close. And I think Windsor just pays them a lot of money for every international student because they have a lot right now.
Oh, do they? I was going to say they have the 3 international students that go to Windsor.
No, like a lot of them go.
Really? I guess because they can fool them like, oh yeah.
Yeah. What do we know? We're stupid, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so they were like, yeah, you should just get in here. And then right before I was about to get into school, I was like, there should be other universities that I can apply to. Yeah. And I looked up, but I would have had to wait another semester, and I didn't want to. So I was just like, whatever, I'll go. And that's how I ended up at Windsor.
Yeah, and you took engineering.
Yeah, I took mechanical
engineering.
Yeah.
Wow.
It wasn't bad. It was actually considered like a good school for automotive because they're on the border with Detroit.
Yes.
And Detroit has they had GM, the 3, like, you know.
They're the car city.
Yeah. So they had sponsored a lab in the university. Oh, wow. So you could actually see when you would run an engine in like a box, you could see stuff happening. Oh wow. Which is very good. If I was taking diesel engines at some point, so you could see like everything, the gases, NOx emissions, you could learn about. Like, it was really
It's like the cadaver of engines.
Yeah. It was really dope.
That's wow. I didn't know you took mechanical. That's that's interesting. And then you graduated there.
Yeah.
In mechanical engineering. Yeah. And you went to work out in Calgary. Yeah.
I did a bunch of internships with them when I was in university.
Yep.
And then I didn't know any better. The east of Canada is a completely different story than the west of Canada. It's a different country. It's a different culture. And I
even
just thought,
Windsor.
Like Windsor's much better, much more multicultural than you'd imagine Calgary to be. Yeah. But Calgary is one of the top, like the biggest 4 cities in Canada. So you don't think that, you think it'd be closer to Montreal and Toronto, but it's not. It's white.
It's Hick City.
Yo,
you could say it's okay.
Yeah.
They have the most famous event that happens at Calgary.
It's so sad.
Is the Calgary Stampede.
Yeah, it's so sad. It's so pathetic.
Yeah, I haven't been I went to the west coast of Canada when I was a kid, and that was like Vancouver. So I've never really been to.
Don't go.
Yeah, I wasn't planning on it. Especially in the winter. That's probably not.
Yeah, it's not. Like when people complain about the winter here, I'm like, are you joking with me? This is fun. Let's go outside and have a picnic.
Snow angels.
It's
on King
death
Street.
there.
But you can't leave the house.
No, people aren't supposed to be living there, but they're not. Money.
Yeah, that's the thing. Anybody who goes out there is just to make money.
Yeah.
And so you're probably pretty miserable there.
I was, yeah. It was a cultural shock to me. You would think like moving from India to Canada would be a culture shock, and it wasn't. But moving to Calgary
Windsor
was like
Calgary was a bigger culture shock.
Yeah,
that's so funny.
Yeah, they live a completely different life there. Almost everybody, I met great people, but almost everybody that lived there had started to excuse their lives by saying, oh, I guess it's just meant to be like this. You should be thankful for what you have and blah, blah, blah. But they all start as like, oh, I'm just here to make some money. Yeah. And eventually they expect themselves to want to be there, even if they don't want to.
They kind of justify it.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Especially if you go north of Calgary.
Well, yeah. If you're in Edmonton, that's when you're really...
Yo, Edmonton is nothing. Go to Fort Mac. I don't know if you've heard of it, but that is where dreams die.
Yeah, I had my brother-in-law worked at I think he was in Cold Lake.
Yeah, that's not even that north. There's
is there north? He was somewhere. I think it was Cold Lake.
Cold Lake is a place. Yeah,
and he was like working on the oil rigs.
And he was in the oil rigs.
Yeah,
he was in water.
I think so. Or like he was doing oil in some capacity, working, and like. He'd make a ton of money, but it's like...
Where do you spend it?
Exactly. And you're like... And especially in those kind of... they're basically camps. Like, there's not a woman in sight. There's not... I'm sure there's not a person of color in sight.
No.
There's not a lot of culture.
No, there isn't. There isn't.
And that probably drove you nuts.
It was pretty bad. It was definitely...
And you were there for 3 years?
Yeah. I had to get my permanent residence.
Yeah.
I had a job, and I thought it would be good to be there. I had a different idea of what Calgary was going to be, and then I had to stay there for the PR. So I had to stay, kind of.
That's like, you probably made decent money.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But I was an international student, so I wanted to pay for my own school, so I was paying for my own school at that time. So I had that as a responsibility.
Yeah. And then you moved back.
Yeah, in September. August of
2018.
Yeah, but I was kind of traveling and staying with my sister then, and then in September I moved here.
Okay. That's I kind of knew it was that recent, but that's
5
recent.
months ago. Yeah,
5 months ago. Yeah. And how do you like Toronto?
I like it. I always knew this was gonna be my place. I never I consider it home, because I would be working there, but my family was here. My sister was here. My aunt was here, and all my friends moved here to work.
You have okay. Yeah, so you have roots.
Yeah. My closest friends are still here.
Yeah. So. And you moved to Toronto, and you started doing art full time.
Yeah.
That must have been like the first few weeks of that. You're probably
amazing.
Looking around like, wait a minute, like.
Yeah, it's actually the first few weeks I was sleeping on my friend's floor.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't gotten an apartment yet, and I wasn't sure if I was going to stay with her, what I was going to do. So she was just like, stay with me for a couple of months.
Yep.
And I would volunteer to sleep on her floor because I didn't want to intrude on her privacy. I would wake up every morning on a yoga mat for like about 1.5 months, and I would be more happier than I was in my own apartment in Calgary. I was like, this is amazing. Now I'm going to go paint. And I would wake up with her when she was going to work, and she's like, are you nuts? Why do you have to get up this early? I'm just so happy. I just want to rejoice this time.
It sounds like you got out of prison.
Yo, it really was like that. I'm not gonna lie.
That's
it really
like that.
You have to go through it to know.
I felt that somewhat moving down here of like, it doesn't. Yeah, if I'm waking up on a yoga mat, like, I still get to be with. Yeah, do whatever I want to do. Be with people I love. Like that's so much more important to happiness than having like some big downtown apartment in Calgary.
I know. It sounds good into this, like a downtown apartment in Calgary.
This could be yours.
You really shouldn't.
Yeah, you got to use your Siri voice for that. Downtown apartments in Calgary. Yeah, and you started painting full time. How long have you been painting before that?
Full time?
Just how long have you been painting?
So I think somewhere in 2016 or like 2015, I was doing art like you would do music on, I don't know, like a phone app. Like it's not serious. You're just doing it when you have free time. Like anybody writes. Yeah. But you're not a writer. You're just doing stuff.
Would you still be painting like canvases or just like paper?
Maybe one a year. Yeah. One canvas. But I was like on sketch pads. Like sometimes I'd explore. Yeah. And then 2016 I really started to, because I went traveling. And when I was coming back, I was like, I'm not happy coming back. And what am I really looking forward to when I'm going back? Yeah. So I started taking it more seriously. And I got a studio at the end of 2016. And that's kind of when I started to paint more. You
started doing it more and started.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you always had a passion for it.
No.
So you just, 2015 you just kind of were.
Yeah.
Just kind of like doodling, like kind of, and then you just kind of, what kind of caught the spark for you?
It was moving to Calgary when I realized that all these relationships I had were no longer there. When I moved to Calgary, I knew one person, and I started to stay with her. Yeah. But it was a big phase in life because I had imagined it to be different. I'd imagined I'd have a degree and I'd move to a big city and I was gonna travel and do this. I was still gonna travel, but it's, when you share a relationship, when you have love for people around you, and it's truly the most deep you can feel for a person, as in a friend or in a relationship or your family or whatever, and then you're taken away from it and you're put in this new situation, a new city, it can really take something out of you if you have nobody around you to like hold you.
Yeah, that's a tough void to fill. Yeah. That's not an easy that's a people just being taken away, and especially when there's nothing, there's just, and they're not kind of nothingness.
Exactly, they're not accessible. I couldn't go see my friends, and
it's not even like an hour drive away.
No, 4 hours in plane.
Yeah, Canada's big.
Yeah, and it is not big. Cheap. You can't even justify it.
No, and there's no Mississauga to Calgary bus.
Bus. My God.
Tap the Presto.
Like sitting on that
Tap
bus.
the Presto.
Yeah.
It's like the stop after Kennedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you kind of filled it somewhat with painting?
Yeah. I was doing a lot more. I started to volunteer. So I wanted to still go to school eventually after engineering and do law school. Okay. So I was filling in Amnesty. I started working with them, and I started working with the drop-in center and a bunch of stuff. But I was also painting on the side. Mm-hmm. And those things stayed. All of that stayed till almost the very end of me leaving Calgary. But I felt the best when I was painting, because I could now paint things that I couldn't speak about. I'm not good with words, I would say. Like emotionally, I'm not good with them. Yeah. So when I was painting, I felt much better, and that kind of stayed.
It really wasn't just straight up outlet at first. I'm fascinated with why people are driven to do art, do music, because like there's no, especially in today's day and age, there's not like a lot of rational explanations for.
I guess so.
It's not like, oh, this is gonna make me a ton of money. Like in today's world, like, oh, this is gonna make me.
I think solitude is something we take for granted a lot. Mm-hmm. And when you can find something that makes you feel at peace with whatever causes your irrational thought process during the day, whether it's your job, your relationship, your family, whatever. Yeah. But you can put yourself in solitude and express yourself, even if it's to yourself and you show it to nobody. Yeah. We don't do that enough anyway these days. No. So if you find something that lets you do that, whether it's music, money kind of comes secondary to that.
It hopefully should. If you're
when you start out anyway, right?
Yeah. And I think that's mostly like, obviously if you're going to get good enough and you want to do it as a career, you're gonna need to eat somehow. But that pure passion for it, and like just kind of getting, like you said, you're not good with words, like you're not trying to, like just getting that almost throwing it up out of yourself and getting it out of it's that catharsis of
but I think mostly with solitude, that you could be quiet with yourself, and that was more important.
You didn't want to just watch Netflix?
I would die. I legitimately would die.
Just turn on TV show.
No. What do you think this is, 1984?
That's what they want. All those Siri voiced women. They just want you to watch Netflix.
That's what they want.
Yes.
It's Netflix.
Yeah.
Have you read Brave New World?
No, but
it's kind of in the same concept. Like there's this drug in it. It's called
isn't it Soma or something?
Yeah, Soma. So it's kind of like that, whatever your Soma is at this time, you just take it and you forget. That's fucked to me.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine.
Yeah, and reading, this kind of segues nicely into my next, what I want to talk about next, of what your art is kind of based on. And I read kind of your brief little kind of mission statement on your website. Yeah. And just that, almost the constant pressure that the world we live in today puts on you, of like the capitalistic, like consumer, like go down to Yonge and Dundas Square and like there's ads for everything everywhere. And that seems to be the driving force for you. I could be wrong, but
I think so there's two different mediums of art that I explore. Yep. One's acrylic and oil. Yep. When it's oil, they're very, very personal human relationship based paintings. So I'll do a few that are based on how I feel as a woman, or my friends that are female have felt in relationships, or they felt at work in positions of power or not having power, some sort in that. Or then one thing that I do in my paintings is I don't try to make faces recognizable, because it originally started from making portraits that I wanted to kind of ruin, because I felt everybody I was meeting when I was traveling or otherwise have any sort of relationship. People can think you're a certain type of person, but if I know you well enough, then I'll know there's much more to who you portray outside. And that was kind of how I was starting to paint portraits that were not real, but they always had one feature or the other that was realistic,
based in kind of getting that one aspect and trying to capture the things that you don't see. So all the portraits are about, almost all of them are about somebody. That's a lie. They're not all about somebody. One or two are about somebody I know, and I want to paint them on how my relationship with them is and how I see them.
So that will be the oil paintings.
Yeah.
That are portraits. Then the more story-like paintings that are based inside rooms.
Yeah.
The room exists because there's just it's just representative of a space that the story is happening in. And then there's a lot of metaphors that come from philosophy that I'll read or psychology that I'll read. For example, horses are meant to be very powerful and suggestive of male in sexual terms, or how it doesn't necessarily mean much more than just a relationship that you shared. That woman in the painting is sharing with a guy, whoever that guy is. It doesn't have to be anybody.
We're nameless, faceless in this.
Yeah, kind of. And the rooms will represent the space. Then there's metaphors attached in the paintings. So it's kind of like storytelling of maybe if I'll talk to somebody and they had, say, for example, I don't know, been in a relationship with a guy who died, for some reason. That is what I think
that
happened.
Happens sometimes.
So it will be a visual representation of that story. And then the capitalistic side that you were talking about was the acrylic paintings.
Yeah.
They're more brute representations of what I think is wrong with the world.
Yeah.
And I try to keep real in myself. Like, if I won't just say that I don't agree with fast fashion and then buy something that's fast fashion. I'll believe in it and that's who I am as a person. If I can't hold up to my ideals, then there's no point of posting online what you believe and then not act on it. Ever. Well,
you don't start doing things with Amnesty International like on a whim. Like, that's not a fun little like. That's not for the Instagram hobby. Photo op. Like, cute little side hobby. The fast fashion thing is definitely an interesting. Like, I feel just a lot of stuff especially in North America, just feels like we're propped up on just like it's just unsustainable. Just the rate, like there's no way we can keep. And I think all the tension in the media, just politics in general, everything just feels tense these days. And it just feels like there's gonna be some kind of crap. Like, it just doesn't feel it doesn't feel sustainable. Like when you hear about like these factories having suicide nets, like how are we not like?
Everybody knows this too.
It's not a
hidden thing.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah,
everyone's
we're just
aware.
Oh, the factory conditions are bad. Well, we'll put the nets.
What can you do? And then we move on. Yeah,
and there's at some point like something's gotta change. Like, there's no way we can keep doing this.
I think what we're often told, or we keep telling each other, is that what can one person do? What can one person do? But that's 7 billion people saying the same thing. What person do? But really, drops make a wave, or whatever that saying is. That's not the
when
right
it rains,
saying.
it pours.
Exactly. If that applies, then that was it.
But you got to have a collective action,
or believe in your own ideals at least. Who are you as a person if you don't have any, and you don't want to act on them ever? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of. It seems like a lot of why you moved. Like, you actually had ideals to.
Yo, listen, I was making my own toiletries and then working for an oil and gas company, so it was really conflicted.
You were making your own toiletries.
Yeah, and then I was working for an oil and gas company, so that was a lot of conflict. That's not good.
That weighed a little bit on you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, oil and gas especially. They're not known. Yeah. They're not known as like the friendliest people.
No, they're not.
Yeah, that. I'm still, in fact, you made your own toiletries.
They're not that hard, really. Like, I can make it sound like it was very difficult. I could recite the ingredients to you, but it's not that difficult. You just have to want to do it. You just have to want to do it.
But that's with anything too. And that's definitely a grind. I just like going to Shoppers. Things are on sale.
I'm not doing it right now. I went to Lush. So I feel a little bit good about myself.
They're a super leftist corporation.
Yeah, but they still use plastic containers, which don't mind me because I buy plastic bags all the time. But I can shit on them and be like, what the fuck?
At least they're not like, they don't have suicide nets outside the mall.
Exactly. That's just unbelievable. That's unbelievable. I think a couple years back, people in the factories at Zara were sewing notes into pants. And this was all over the news. People found notes in their pants. And then somebody told me as they were going into Zara, they're like, oh yeah, it's kind of not nice. I was like, bro, are you for real? Like,
Yeah,
nothing changes.
That actually came out like Starbucks. That's like one of the coffee plantations in Brazil was using slave labor.
Oh, really?
And we have like a coffee now that is like from Brazil, and I want to be like, hey, I don't know if this one was the one with like slave labor, and but it's just like, oh, and the checks and balances and the bureaucracies of these giant corporations, and they didn't catch like. People are shocked. It's like, no, it's kind of built into the system.
Yeah, I know there's only so much you can do. You have to give yourself leeway because, you as a human being, you have many things that you care about. You care about, for example, fast fashion. You care about where your food comes from, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. It's hard to be so hard on yourself with just one aspect and expect yourself to just excel.
Yeah.
That you can be a complete person with doing many things in your life and try to do better.
Yeah. I think just a lot of people just need to strive to do better. Like, it really
people
is baby steps. You can't just go from like just being a complete scumbag to making your toiletries and like living a waste free lifestyle.
I try to do that. It's not easy.
You have to be. You actually have to be white and have dreadlocks to do that.
You are right. I'm on the path to be pretty white. I don't really tan. I just burn.
You just burn. Oh. Yeah. That's like sunburns are the worst.
Yeah, sunburns
are the worst.
Oh, I thought you said sunburns. I was like, what do you mean? All burns are the worst.
Sometimes you just need to feel the pain.
Sometimes you like burns.
No, sunburns. The oil acrylic thing. What? I get. There's obviously a difference, and they're kind of two different pleasures or releases, but. In the difference between like planning something out and kind of going in with a plan versus kind of being more messy with like maybe the acrylic and just kind of spewing some thoughts out.
Yeah.
Because I think you usually have a plan going into a piece.
Slight plan, yeah. For
slight plan.
Yeah, for sure.
And like you want to tell that story.
Yeah, for sure.
Versus just like getting it out of you. Is there any conflict there, or they can exist pretty simultaneously?
I think there's a slight form of storytelling in both that I start with, but the acrylics are normally very free. So even when I'm painting in oil, I try to not paint what I want to paint because I don't want to be a slave to my own thought while I'm painting it. So I couldn't do something structured that's patterns over and over and over again because then I'd just be telling myself what to do. And I just want to fight my own self and be like, you can't tell me what to do. Even you're in my own head.
I'm sending you to boarding school.
Yeah, exactly. Even if it's myself, I don't want to fall into that trap. So the escape from that is the oil painting and painting more freely. And when I'm painting acrylic, if I choose a topic, I'll research on it. For example, I did one for somebody that was about East Hastings, the Skid Row of Vancouver, basically.
Okay.
There's a lot of homeless meth addicts there. And I did a painting for somebody, and I researched what the teeth of somebody who's addicted to meth looks like, and I drew that on. So there was an idea, but it was very free because if I thought that I was following the diagram, then I just fuck it up. I'll just like draw a line across it. Yeah. So I don't like in my own head, I'm not following something. I'm just doing whatever I want to do, really.
Yeah.
And not to have that idea.
And not just prescribed to what you should.
Not even my own self.
That's deep. Didn't know we were gonna get this heavy. Not even myself can tell me what to do.
Shut up. You shut up. You shut up.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to see you paint after this. Like, it's just gonna be you yelling at yourself. Painting, the actual physical act of painting. Why that? Like, obviously, there's so many avenues to express yourself visually, especially. Mm-hmm. Painting seems like such an old school, analog, old world kind of. It's not in vogue. Like nobody's. There's no like The Voice for painters.
Yeah, no, there isn't.
So
because it's called The Voice, man.
Well, the paint. It could be the paint.
Yeah, that's the brush. The hand.
The hand.
It could be the hand.
The hand. And just like
there isn't.
People, no, there isn't. So why painting?
I think it started basically as at a pen, and it kind of just became that. But I suppose I could be digitally painting, or I could be graphic designing or something like that.
Especially, did you use a lot of computers in school?
AutoCAD and CATIA and like SolidWorks and stuff.
I guess you can't really be too artistic in like AutoCAD.
No, but I know what you're talking about.
You'd still be somewhat fluent, and it's just interesting of like, because I think a lot of art these days, and especially like things that are popular on say Instagram, stuff like that, people that are in vogue are a lot of digital works, a lot of, but it seems like an interesting, I guess it's less of a choice than, oh, you kind of just started doing it.
No, at a certain point it does become a choice, because it's hard when you don't know art painting to paint. You could just go into a digital notebook and pick those colors, but I have to make my own colors. Nothing comes out of the tube for me. Wow. So I'll buy a blue and different shades of blue, and I'll mix it with different yellows. I think why painting is because the physical act of having something so calming happen in front of you is the release for me. Like I could just sit there with one paint on a contrasting color and just like keep doing that over and over again to build shadows and highlights. Yeah. And I'm doing that right now in my paintings. Like I'm making those torso-like figures a lot. And that in itself is just the most calming thing. And I have so many thoughts that can go through my mind, and I can come to terms with certain things that happen during the day. But the physical act of having to do that is crazy. I think that's why one of my favorite artists is Van Gogh. And the reason I like him is because he had such thick paint marks in his paintings. And I think he was enjoying that over and over and over again more than the actual final kind of the process versus the result. That's what drives you crazy, right? Like when you're making music, you want to go mix those beats again and again and again until you come up with the final project. But for me, I think,
no, I get what you're saying. I somewhat like it is that, but some of it is like, and I think that's like a struggle of art. Sometimes is trying to remove yourself from the actual final result of it. Yeah. And kind of just stay engaged with the process. Yeah. And that can be tough sometimes when you're like, and it is like that. Don't tell yourself what to do, because it's like, don't tell yourself what to do. Yeah. Like just let it kind of be what it should be. But it's tough. That's tough when you're like, no, I want it this way. I want no. And
but I'm fighting with myself in my head. I'm like, no, you think you want it this way, but I'm not going to do it. What's up, bitch? What's good?
You must really. I never want to see you in front of a mirror. That's just shadow boxing with yourself. Like, no, it's not that deep.
But it's a good idea. I should try it. Yeah, some people like freak themselves out in front of the mirrors. Someone was telling me that the other day, that they'll just keep staring at themselves until they separate themselves from it, and then they get scared and they stop looking.
Those people should stop doing drugs. Those are the people. That's the person who's like, oh yeah, the universe is talking to me.
Yo, what? That would be crazy. Imagine if you do that and you convince yourself that, oh, this is actually another entity in myself. How do you live with yourself, man? You can never go to sleep. You can never go to sleep because you're sleeping with somebody. That's insane.
I can't actually go to sleep. I'd be cheating with myself. You can't do that. That would be level. Oh, that's intense. Yeah. This is getting but the meditation of like the physical act is definitely interesting, and like because I think that's again like going out, like that's not, people don't care about that anymore. People don't care about like what it took.
Everything's fast.
Everything's fast. They just want they just want the picture on Instagram. Yeah. They don't care what it took. They don't care if you mix the colors.
Yeah, that's why I think for a medium like mine, Instagram isn't that. It is relevant 100%. The only reason I even was able to quit my job is because last year I made money off of it, solely off of being on Instagram. But there's so much more that goes into being a painter outside of Instagram. You have to apply to grants and galleries and shows and this and that. Yeah. That you slowly realize that it's just an outlet. I just have to post a picture. It doesn't mean much more than that. Yeah. Because the gallery will still have me if I'm good. I can still apply to grants. I can still, work with other people if I'm good. Yeah. But photography, for example, would be something that's more relevant. Not more relevant, but more made for Instagram than anything else.
Yeah. Does it bother you at all that people see your work mostly on Instagram and not necessarily in real life?
Not right now, because it's only been 5 months.
Yeah.
But if that was to stay the case, then yeah, that means I'm not anywhere. Like, I'm probably gonna have to work another job and not tell. Yeah. Like, what am I?
You could sell stuff off Instagram.
You definitely can, and I have.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, if it only becomes Instagram and not real life, then is it good enough, or am I just telling people online that it's good enough? You know, someone didn't want to see it in real life. When I applied to galleries, they were like, nah. You know, when people came and saw.
I didn't know you had to apply to galleries. I thought they just hit you up. They like slid in your DMs.
Like sick. Yeah, they want to slide into my DMs.
Like, what are you saying, fam?
No, you have to apply, and you also have to have people sometimes come and look at your studio.
Oh, okay.
So it's like a real life thing.
Yeah, no, that's always, I think, and that's another thing of like the quality of actually seeing a painting in person is totally different than seeing it on Instagram. I remember seeing Francis Bacon when they had the OGO.
I think you told me that
stuff.
one time.
Yeah, and like, and I remember him talking about how he actually, like, the brush strokes are important to him, and like seeing the actual physical paint. Yeah, that's an important, and I think that gets lost a lot of the time.
Yeah, online people, for sure.
Online, and just people just want it quick. They want, oh, that's cool. Move on to the next thing. They don't want to savor it and kind of like.
Yeah, painting is difficult. I think online you kind of lose what it actually entails looking at a painting. Yeah. And
another, when you just mentioned the fine art world, like navigating it is that a pain? Because the market for fine art is mostly people with a lot of expendable income.
Yeah, for sure.
Is that annoying to deal with? Is it just kind of like, well, that's kind of the game? Or
I think when last year I was trying to sell, it was easy because people saw, and someone who's interested in buying knows that art isn't going to be very, very cheap, especially if you like it. And almost all the paintings that they're seeing are, you know, they look like they'd have some value. Then people don't mind selling it. But navigating fine art is a different world. Like, you don't just, at least to me, in the experience that I'm having with the people that I'm trying to talk to, it's not just going and selling your work. You have to be relevant. It's a lot of bullshit too. Like, you have to convince people you're something, and that's when they want to like get involved with you. It's a lot of like, you know, living as an artist more than anything. Do you get that idea?
And kind of comes back to that, living on a yoga mat for like a month and a half. Like that should be in your bio.
Yeah, I'm a real artist guy.
I woke up on that fucking yoga mat.
What's up? It was good.
What's up? And I was so happy doing it.
I was
so happy. You look them right in the eyes. I was so happy doing it. Yeah, it's funny how much it's just because it's. I don't want to say the value is artificial, but it's kind of who play it. If somebody important places value on it,
100%,
then it shoots up.
100%. That's true with so many things, like jewelry. People will buy because what does having jewelry even mean? Like, it's just stuff.
Why is a diamond
exactly, or emerald or whatever? But someone important is like on board with a certain sort of thing, and people are getting it. It's important to get seen and stuff. I'm not getting seen right now. I'm in my studio painting.
But you gotta have your time. You'll have your time to get seen.
Yeah.
How much do you you're probably just painting more than actually like working the rounds and doing the rounds and like doing all the grant. I'm guessing you're always kind of applying for grants, gallery stuff.
A couple, but mostly right now I'm trying to figure out how to do stuff. So I have a mentor who's very well connected in the fashion world, so she'll kind of give me a parallel of what happens in the fashion world, and that's been really helpful. Or I go up and talk to people a lot, and I approached Avleen because they were having a show, and I was like, yo, are you guys looking for something? And started talking to them like that. And if it's a gallery that I like, I've only applied to a couple, but that's also because I've just started to build a portfolio and I need to do that. So I do paint a lot more because when you start painting, it's also a process to find your own visual aesthetics. And that means you have to navigate through the artists that you like. And sometimes, you know, you have to find pieces of different things and put them together to be who you are. Just like life, you know, you become a person by having opinions about things that you research on. Painting is something like that.
Yeah. It's not it's taking pieces of,
of what I like and what speaks
what are your values of,
exactly.
of painting of anything.
Yeah.
You use a lot of color.
I do.
You like color?
Not in person. I wouldn't wear that much color ever because I think it's so attractive to wear color. Like people are automatically going to notice you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're like shining bright like a diamond. But I think color has so much emotion. Like a yellow will bring a different reaction than a red would, than a blue would. And I really, really enjoy having like contrasting colors in the same painting. So you could feel like you were in a cooler environment, but there's a very strong presence of yellow and it could just balance out. Yeah. And I like playing that mind game kind of with myself.
And there's a lot of morose subjects.
Yeah, like, absolutely. None of that stuff is like, oh, happy.
Yeah. Here's some war stuff.
Yeah.
We threw in some yellow. Yeah. We threw in some yellow.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that more just like that contrast between the two?
The emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just kind of want to bring out that emotion.
For sure. Because I don't want it to be expected. I don't want someone to look at a painting and say, look at the colors, you can tell it's depressing. Or it's about something sad, or it's about something not obviously aesthetic.
Yeah.
So when I can say a more informative story that has more depth to it than just a happy picture, and I can use colors in it, I think it's very interesting to me. I do it for myself. I'm a selfish person, I guess.
But you should be selfish.
Exactly.
That's another great thing about exactly.
Don't look at it if you don't
get out of here, me. Who's telling me what to do?
Who talks like that? That was not me.
Yeah, who would ever say something like that?
Yeah, that's kind of psycho, bro.
Yeah, you weren't in the bathroom yelling at them. They're definitely not you. It was somebody else.
Yo.
Yeah. You got a ghost painter who's doing it for you. Another thing I'm fascinated by in art is people who can draw technically good, like a Picasso, just transitioning into, I guess, primitive, abstract, just using that as that mode of expression. And you mix the two kind of those torsos a lot.
Absolutely, yeah.
Is one more valid than the other, or like, do you just think that they both have their place?
I think validity is what the actual drive to have both is, because mostly it's considered more aesthetically beautiful when you can have something that's very well academically done, which is like all the Renaissance paintings or
those old master.
Yeah, and then there's the abstract, which someone would be like, "Oh, my kid could do it," but the kid doesn't do it, right? Get your kid, find him, give him to me, tell me how he does, and I'll do it like that. But he doesn't do it. The kid isn't doing it.
No.
So the annoying part is that a lot of people would validate having a more aesthetically pleasing and easier thing to look at than they would something that's more infuriating or more questioning. So it's because of that I think that should exist.
Yeah.
To question what's beautiful, basically.
Yeah.
It's easier on the eyes, so people consider it beautiful a lot of the times, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, so many people will think Renaissance paintings are more beautiful than having, I don't know, Francis Bacon, you know?
Yeah.
They'll easily say that that's ugly or scary or dark.
And sometimes beauty is not the goal.
No.
And aesthetic, like something can be aesthetically pleasing and be like, so some of those Francis Bacon, like the Screaming Pope one is like one of the most interesting.
You want to stop and think about it for a second.
Yeah.
Give yourself the chance to engage with something outside of
what your preconceived notion
yeah, exactly. Or what you're used to be on your phone or your laptop or whatever.
Yeah.
Your
TV. Yeah, no, it's always like, there's always that tension there of like, what
engage in something. Yeah.
Yeah. And people, and that's where like art appreciation comes in, of like, there's actually actually like try to see what they were doing, because it's not like you're scribbling like, oh, I'm just scribbling like a kid.
Yeah, no, a lot of times there's stories.
Yeah.
Things that sometimes need to be simplified so you could understand, or sometimes even to shock you, so maybe you could pay more attention to things that you keep avoiding. There's this one artist, his name's Reginald Sylvester, and he, you know, when they started to hold kids at the border in the US, he painted something along those lines 2 years before that thing happened.
Yeah.
And he wasn't obviously talking about that in particular, or anything in particular, I believe. And I think the painting was called Babylon or something like that. But he had painted that. He had painted kids behind the bars as a result of a war or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And it's a very, the same kind of caveman sort of painting.
Yeah.
With the lack of neo-expressionism or expressionist sort of painting.
Yeah.
And he was able to tell that story. So politically, sometimes the shock of that painting would have led you to look at it, remember it, and then 2 years later when that happened, you can think about it again.
And that's a starker image that's going to stay in your head rather than something that's...
I would think so, personally. Like, I can't speak for the whole world.
But there's a reason cavemen were painting with, like, painting that way of, like, because it was... They literally didn't have the time. It was the
basic.
It was, and they didn't have,
what they knew.
It's what they knew, and they were trying to get it out of their heads as quickly as possible before a fucking saber-toothed tiger ate them.
Exactly.
And it's like,
my kids are dead.
Yeah, and there's a reason why I think we're fascinated with that today. Of like, what were they trying to say? Like,
dead children.
But we kind of dead children.
Yeah.
Top theme in art. Right? Yeah, exactly.
And the dead children. Yeah. They couldn't run, man. It was gonna happen.
Oh yeah, and saber-tooth tigers there's no bargaining with them.
That's what was up at that time.
That's what was up, and like, but we know kind of what they were saying today. Yeah. And like, we have no commonalities with those people.
Exactly.
Yeah, tell them. We'll send the saber-tooth out there.
Yeah, we can send the assistant.
The saber-tooth assistant.
We have an assistant in the room.
He's going to be choking me. Man's and Dad on TTC. Do you find any challenges being self-taught?
I think the only thing I think would have helped from going to art school is knowing people that were also pursuing art and how they were doing it, and if there were other opportunities that I'm not aware of. Because right now a lot of it is just me trying to find people who have friends that paint, or trying to look online. Legitimately, I go online, I find an artist that I like, I go on their website, I go on their about section, and everything that I've ever done, I'll find that. And I look at their publications, and I look at the galleries that they've applied to, the shows that they've applied to, and then I look that up online and make an Excel file. Wow. And I would rather not do that, you know? I'd rather just have friends.
The Excel file can only replace human connection like so much.
It's not that bad because, you know, I've only been doing this for 5 months. So it's not, I don't feel like it's a huge setback. But other than that, I wouldn't have wanted to go to school. I hated being told what to do. I took a couple of workshops so I could learn some like layering and whatever. I couldn't even finish them. I tried once. I couldn't finish that. I was like, I'm going to do this again one more time.
You kept trying to like,
it didn't work out.
Like,
no,
holding your nose.
There was one time I took a color class. Actually, no, maybe I've taken like 3. I took a color class once. I was bored out of my mind. This dude was telling me what colors meant, and I had no interest. I went to one class, and I paid $400 for that class. I went to one class. I hate school.
You really do. I'm surprised you were able to finish. I guess, but that's not like you kind of had to.
Yeah, I had to.
That was like a survival. That was your. The saber-tooth was going to get you.
And live with my parents otherwise. Ooh. Let me tell you, did not want to do that.
You really did not want to do that.
Nope.
You'll take a color class over that.
Bye-bye. Yeah, yo. Yeah, put me in that color class.
Fuck you, Mom.
Yo. My mom hopefully will not listen to this.
Yeah. I, for the record, I was saying "fuck you, Mom."
I didn't say that.
Yeah.
It was
the white kid was saying "fuck you, Mom." So like, that's not out of character.
It's him.
Exactly.
Not the colored kid. My mama whooped my ass from India. She'll
email you and ask.
Let me tell you, she doesn't know how to use it, but if she could, she would.
She'll find a way. Yeah, I feel like
she'll leave me a voice note on WhatsApp. She's gonna do it.
That's the
that's what colored moms do, let me tell you.
What are your non-visual influences? Like
Oh, music definitely.
Music.
Is on,
what music do you listen to when you're?
A lot.
Do you
of
listen
R&B.
to when you're painting?
Yeah, a lot of R&B, a lot of hip hop.
Yeah.
Sometimes some sort of rock, like maybe once in 3 months, I'll listen to Pink Floyd or the Beatles or something. Yeah. But mostly just R&B and hip hop. Everything else is trash. I just want everyone to know. And techno sometimes.
Thank you. I 100% agree.
Like dark techno.
Dark techno.
Yeah, some like German bands.
Oh, geez, you're getting deep.
Yeah. Sometimes,
just if the mood. But is music a big part of your painting?
Absolutely. Yeah.
What R&B and hip hop artists? What are you listening to now? Like, what were you listening to today?
Oh, this is very embarrassing. I don't know if this is a cool answer, but it was Bryson Tiller.
That's not a cool answer.
No, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Frank Ocean a lot.
Yeah.
Sade sometimes.
Ooh.
Like old stuff.
Yeah.
Otis Redding, Etta James.
Real R&B shit.
Yeah. Like old stuff sometimes.
Nice. That's all. So. There's always that kind of like synergy between visual and music.
Yeah, absolutely.
That synesthesia of like ideas is always a cool thing.
I actually used to play a lot of music growing up.
Oh, really? What'd you play?
I was playing a bunch of I was playing the flute, mouth organ. There's these Indian drums called tabla. I was playing that. Mm-hmm. There's piano, and then there was harmonium.
Oh, wow.
And I was in the choir. So I was into music till like 10th grade, and then my parents would... No, that's a lie. My parents asked me to stop playing instruments when I was like 9 or 8. They're like, you gotta study. You're not white. You gotta go to school. No, I'm not even joking. My mom put all my stuff like out of my reach. She's like, you're gonna go to school and you're gonna study. And then singing, they didn't really let me pursue it either. But I wasn't trying to pursue it. I was just singing.
Yeah, that seems you're just singing. I guess they can only stop singing so much. Like
yeah, like
they you can still sing.
Yeah,
you don't need to bang on a drum to sing.
You?
Yeah,
you can't do this.
They might try to choke you.
They might. Who knows?
You hope not.
If it went far, no. If you went far enough, they might try to strangle you. But yeah,
that's interesting. One last. We'll wrap this up after this. This is kind of my last topic of conversation. Mm-hmm. Read in that other interview on Glossy just about how you want to do stuff past painting, like installations, all that. Are you gonna you're focusing on painting for like the meantime, and then you're gonna do you have like solid plans for that, or is that just something you kind of just have ideas for?
No, I absolutely have plans for that. There's the reason that I want to do installation art is the story that I tell all my friends, because I think it makes me sound really cool. There's this structure of this writer I think it's in Prague. I haven't seen it, but I've seen it online, and it's about this writer, Franz Kafka. And basically the bus kind of like has several planes, and every 30 minutes or something, the planes rotate and it becomes like a show, and then it becomes a space again. You could like, ooh, if you didn't care about it, you'd just say it's a cool structure, you walk away. But for someone who can stop and say, who is this writer? I want to know what they write about. Or somewhere in the back of the head, you make someone think about it. Mm-hmm. And that person was to go home, look their work up, and then really be influenced by what he wrote. He was kind of like a philosopher / fictional writer, but he was talking about the philosophy of absurdity in human life. Yep. And that happened to me. When I saw his thing online, I was like, I want to know who that writer is. And I started to kind of just looked up his Wikipedia page, started reading about his stuff. And he was a really cool person. And he was also an addition to my philosophy in life. And that is a sort of impact I want to make through installations. Whether it's about a writer or not, it doesn't matter. But anything that I care about. And there's some artists that I'm in touch with that do installation art right now. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of building a relationship to eventually be like, can I intern for you? Can I be your apprentice? And I have the engineering background, so that's really helpful. I was
just about to say that. Yeah, so like you could really AutoCAD.
Yeah, I can really AutoCAD.
You can AutoCAD the shit out of some stuff.
Let me AutoCAD for you.
Yeah. Do you think there's any influence of like that AutoCAD, that industrial, looking at engines for 5 hours a day? Is there any of that in the installation? In the installations, in the painting, and anything?
I don't know about the paintings. I've never thought of it like that. But installation, definitely. Because you just get these skills that you can't take away. Like I'll be very organized when I'm planning something. I just know how to. So it doesn't take me very long to just break it down, and I'll do that. So I think when I want to apply to something that's related to installation, I can have that set up, and that will influence. If that was your question, like if I learned any skills or something. Yeah,
exactly. Because you wouldn't think kind of at face value that there's a lot of transferable skills between.
I think, in design, there definitely is, because using SolidWorks isn't just like drawing stuff up. You still have to know what kind of screw and what kind of wood you need. You'd have to research on all that stuff. And depending on where I go with this, I would have some sort of knowledge of stresses and how to, if this is strong enough, the structure works, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm going to be a professional engineer if I write my test. So that means I could like stamp it and be like, yo, what's up?
Yo, what up? This giant Franz Kafka head is not going to crush and kill people.
Yeah, exactly. I could do that for you.
See, all in one. Get you somebody who can do both.
I know, exactly. So I'm really hoping it will transfer over.
Yeah.
When I plan on, when it happens.
That's awesome. Yeah. Is there like a bar exam for engineers?
Yeah, you have to have 4 years of 4 years of experience, and one of them can be from your internships. Okay. And then you have to write a law exam and an ethics exam.
That's probably a good thing. The ethics exam is probably a good thing.
Yeah. It's common knowledge though. The law I think would be like something you think you'd know, but you wouldn't know because it's actual laws.
Okay.
But
then you're a professional engineer.
Then you just stamp everything. Stamp your friends, stamp your mom.
Just walk around with this stamp.
Around stamping people. It feels dope because it's one of those wax stamps.
Oh, it's like a legit stamp.
Yeah. I think. I may be wrong.
I'm sure you.
I didn't research into it because I was
like, I'm not going to do it. Wait, did they give you your own stamp?
No, because I didn't write the exam.
But did they give you? Is that like the prize at the end? They give you a stamp?
Yeah, you get a stamp and you get a certificate or something like that.
That's dope.
Yeah.
I would do that just for the stamp.
You wouldn't do that. It's 4 years of working for
you
someone.
Get a dope stamp?
No.
No?
Yeah, I can build you a stamp, man. What's wrong with you? Right? Why would you want to do that? Every morning someone tells you, can you do this for me? Can you do this? No, fuck you. You do this for yourself.
Yeah, but if I look like it's like Homer Simpson looking at his picture of his daughter when he's at the nuclear power plant.
Does that what he does?
Yeah, he's like to get him through the day. He looks at his baby daughter. I'd be looking at that stamp.
Really?
Yeah.
Actually?
No.
Who are you convincing?
No, I'm not convincing. I'm just fucking around.
Nobody's listening, yo.
No, yeah. No, this is for nobody. This is me fighting with myself in the mirror. Yeah. I think that's a good place to end off. Is the stamp.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for doing this.
Of course. Anytime. Am I your first ones?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I feel so much privilege.
You should. This is like you like the first.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Peter, and I'd like to thank the assistant in the room. It's been great.
He's just writing down the list of names of people he wants to kill. No, thank you again. This is dope. I can't wait for
me neither.
For volume for your art to be up at the gallery again.
Yeah.
Gap paper was really fun.
Yeah, you came.
It's
gonna
be
cool.
Yeah. No, this is gonna be. It's gonna be fun. I can't wait to see what pieces you pick.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot.
There's gonna be a lot.
Yeah, I think like 12.
Oh wow, that's 13. Awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you for doing this again.
Yeah, thank you.